Hi everyone, it's Monday and it's a public holiday, which is great for me because I don't have to listen to the screaming kids in the creche. I haven't had kids on either side actually, so that's good. And it's very quiet in Cairns today. Now it's a beautiful day, it's about 28 degrees at the moment. Bit of sun, bit of cloud cover, but got no complaints. I actually even went out and recorded some video on my GoPro, and it wasn't that windy, so it was a really nice day. Wanted to get myself that desperately needed haircut, but unfortunately found out that they were shut, even though it said they were open on Google and Facebook, on their Facebook page. So, oh dear, one of these days I'll get this haircut. I'm going to try again tomorrow morning, but it's a tough ask when you want a cheap haircut in Cairns. Well, keep persevering. But anyway, on to the news today, and of course I'm sorry to say it is all Victorian centric and it's all to do with Dan. Shocking moment, police tackle a beachgoer to the ground in St Kilda as large crowds were seen ignoring social distancing and soaring temperatures. Filmed allegedly resisting arrest and involved in violent scuffle with officers. This is a man 32 years of age who allegedly struck a police vehicle while officers were patrolling St Kilda. St Kilda, for the uninitiated, can be a rather dodgy part of town, especially in Fitzroy Street. St Kilda can, you see some rather unusual characters floating around there. So it's not exactly averse to violence. And he was later charged with a string of offences, including COVID-19 breach. It comes after hundreds defied lockdown rules and headed to the popular beach. Shocking footage has emerged of a beachgoer involved in a violent scuffle with police at a popular Melbourne beach. The violent confrontation was witnessed by hundreds of beachgoers who flocked to St Kilda's foreshore for a second consecutive day on Saturday night as temperatures climbed towards 30°C. 30 degrees Celsius is a definite rare opportunity in Melbourne to get out and about. Police have since confirmed a man 32 was arrested and later charged, allegedly struck a police vehicle while officers were patrolling the Broadwalk at around 6:20. I thought it was a boardwalk, but they're calling it a Broadwalk. Okay. Nearby crowds cheered and filmed as the man allegedly tried to resist arrest and break free from officers by pushing them away. The man managed to break free but fell on the ground, prompting the officers to pile on top of him. I think that's just what they do for fun. That's probably just a normal way of showing affection amongst the Victorian police. They sort of act like a pack of wolves at times, so nothing would surprise me. Another man tried to intervene and confronted police by shouting at them before he was pushed away by a male officer. Police were forced to use pepper spray during the arrest while waiting for public order response officers to arrive. Again, this is not an unusual situation for St Kilda. They do have their rather interesting characters floating around, so I don't know if this is so much a COVID thing as just a general disorder situation. Victoria Police have released a statement about the incident, alleging the man approached and struck the police van while it was driving along the promenade. Police allege the man, who appeared alcohol affected, probably drugs as well, refused to provide his details when asked by officers, and a scuffle ensued. Drugs again are not an unusual thing to find in a St Kilda area. During the incident, OC spray was deployed before the man was arrested and transported to a police station. The police statement read, "The man, 32, was charged with resisting arrest, assaulting police, being drunk and disorderly, and the civic breach." So that's, like I say, that's just the tail end of it. I think this is not really a COVID-19 situation. He was bailed to appear in Melbourne Magistrates Court on April the 1st. April Fool's Day. What a perfect time to appear in court. Okay. After 2 months of tough lockdown, hundreds of young people partied at St Kilda Beach as temperatures climbed above 25 degrees on Friday. Despite stern warnings from health officials, large crowds persisted on Saturday, prompting a large police presence on the city beach. Victoria Chief Health Officer, I cannot wait till we don't have to hear about these guys in the future. Brett Sutton issued a heartfelt plea after disturbing footage emerged of hordes of young people partying on Melbourne's beaches, ignoring social distancing and gathering in large groups. See, Brett probably never actually went out and had fun. He's probably just a nerd who's been at his nose in a book, and now he's got a chance to actually flex his muscles by making Victorians do what he wants in the name of medical science. Yeah, right. Don't risk everything. What we can hold back now means a truly normal summer. Yeah, right. It's not going to happen in Melbourne. I'm sorry, guys. If you believe that Dan Andrews is going to just let this go, I don't believe it. Hold the line, Professor Sutton tweeted on Friday night. Now they're calling him Professor Sutton. It's interesting how they're just switching from just Brett Sutton to Professor Sutton. Victoria recorded 12 new corona cases and 1 death on Sunday, pushing the 14-day rolling average of corona cases in Melbourne down to 11.9 and 0.1 in regional Victoria. Well, that's virtually nothing in regional Victoria. It's absurd. They shouldn't have any restrictions by the sound of things. Bayside councils have threatened to close beaches, urging Melburnians to stay away after large gatherings so far this weekend. Port Phillip Council Chief Executive Peter Smith has vowed to close the St Kilda foreshore if the illegal behaviour continues. Yeah, well, Port Phillip's a very left-wing council, by the way, so nothing surprises me there as well. They'd be in lockstep with Dan Andrews, one would think. Melbourne is forecast to reach a top of 27 on Sunday. We are extremely disappointed by the number of people who breached the Victorian Chief Health Officer's orders and gathered on St Kilda Beach last night, Mr Smith told the Herald Sun. Like I said, they're in lockstep with Andrews. Unfortunately, if we have large crowds of people doing the wrong thing, then we will have no choice but to close the beach or park as a last resort. Oh, last resort, my ass. I think they're just loving it, loving controlling Melburnians. We are trying to prevent closure through a range of measures. However, we will only be able to keep our beaches and parks open if each person plays their part by sticking to the Chief Health Officer's orders. Obey or else. The Chief Officer has spoken. God, the Chief Health Officer, unbelievable. Daniel Andrews slams beachgoers as silly and selfish as he clashes with a journalist during a fiery exchange over the hotel quarantine. Premier Daniel Andrews has reinforced his warning for beachgoers not to be silly. Victoria recorded 1 fatality and 12 new corona infections on Sunday. Mr Andrews is begging people not to gather in large groups at beaches or parks. He is also relentlessly questioned by a journalist during a press conference. The reporter questioned him in a fiery exchange over hotel quarantine issues. Yeah, well, fair enough too. Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has reinforced his warning for beachgoers not to be selfish moments before he clashed with a journalist over the hotel quarantine. Coronavirus cases in the state remain low after recording 1 fatality and 12 new infections on Sunday. But the Premier is pleading for people to stay the course after large groups at beaches and parks flouted virus restrictions over the weekends. Again, why would you expect people to follow you in lockstep, Daniel Andrews, when you've totally stuffed this whole thing up anyway with the quarantine fiasco? You've got no authority, mate. Once we get them low, then we can keep them low and we can open up again if we don't do anything silly or anything selfish right now. Mr Andrews warned people that if they try to shortcut this thing, then we will be back where we were weeks and months ago. And that's my prediction, that if you think that Daniel Andrews is going to basically loosen his anaconda-type grip on Victorians, forget it. He loves the power trip he's on right now. Let's not any of us do anything to jeopardise where we find ourselves. It's definitely poised. Oh, yeah, right. During the same press conference, Mr Andrews was relentlessly questioned by journalist Rachel Baxendale from The Australian. She cited a report about the workers in hotel quarantine between July and August who also wanted shifts at aged care facility. On August the 2nd, we went into stage 4 restrictions. You shut down entire industries to limit the spread of the coronavirus, Miss Baxendale said. And yet we had a government subcontracted worker who was working in the setting which had caused Victoria's second wave and moving between that setting and aged care, which to date has been linked to 640 deaths. Well done, Dan. Why on earth was that happening? Mr. Andrews responded that he wasn't sure the person worked any shifts in aged care while infectious. I would need to come back to you in terms of further details about that particular case, the Premier said. But the key point there is we're doing everything that we can do to limit the movement. Sometimes you can't get it 100%, but the key point there is whether the person was infectious. I don't have that detail. The response did not satisfy Mick Baxendale, who further pressed on the matter. But if you can't even limit this person was working as a government subcontractor, this was happening at a point when you told hundreds of thousands of Victorians that they couldn't go to work because we were trying to limit the spread of the coronavirus, you said. And yet a government project, we had someone who was moving from hotel quarantine to aged care. Why was that? Good question. Mr. Andrews started to get visibly frustrated with the reporter and doubled down in response, saying he didn't know how many times it happened. I don't know whether they were infectious. I don't know. That's not the feature of the program now, he said. He doesn't know much, Dan. He seems to have real memory problems when it comes to tricky subjects. Funny that. It's sunny, yes, and people love to go to the beach, and when it's sunny, but there's a global pandemic on, Mr. Andrews said. Surely there's a greater urge to see this thing, to defeat it, and to have a normal summer and have a COVID normal Christmas and 2021. Well, that worries me that he's using the terms defeat it. You can't defeat it, you moron. The virus will be still hanging around and it will flare up from time to time. People in Sweden have got the brains to understand that, but Daniel Andrews is an ideologue. He's like I say, he loves having the power over the population. He's really getting off on this, and he's a man that needs to be removed, in my opinion. Chief Health Officer Professor Brett Sutton, I'll give him his full title, said mystery cases remained a concern with an uptick in the 14-day rolling average. There were 13 mystery cases with an unknown source in Melbourne in the fortnight to October the 1st, with 3 new ones found in the southeast and west of Melbourne in postcodes 3145, 3023 and 3019. Well, isn't it funny that they can't trace them because their contract tracing is crap. Berejiklian, the Premier in New South Wales, seems to be able to get this right, but Victorians just don't seem to be able to handle it. Not the Labor Party. They've got no idea what they're doing. Professor Sutton said a single case of unknown acquisition might represent 10 or 15 true cases in the community. It's really a call to arms. Anyone in these postcodes should be aware that there's transmission in these postcodes. Professor Sutton said outdoor activities were okay, but they had to be undertaken safely. We know that it is good for the emotional well-being, psychological well-being, so it's important to get out, he said. Yeah, right. If you really believe that, you wouldn't allow such strict restrictions. I mean, it's just absurd. And you would have loosened the ties a lot earlier. But he reminded Victorians that no more than 2 households or 5 people can gather, and they must maintain social distancing and wear masks. Health figures released on Sunday show the 14-day rolling average of daily case diagnoses up to Saturday is 11.9 in Melbourne and 0.1 in regional Victoria. If Victoria hits a rolling 14-day average 5 and a 2-week total of below 5 mystery cases, it will move to the 3rd step of reopening. These goalposts are ridiculously strict, in my opinion. Victoria should have opened up months ago. But if you'd been following the proper protocols with contact tracing and hadn't had bungles with quarantine and hotels, it would have been possible. So, and I think it's possible now, but I just don't believe there's much will from Daniel Andrews to loosen the ties. He enjoys this. The state's death toll is now 806 since the start of the pandemic. The latest death toll is that of a man in his 80s and linked to an aged care outbreak. Police said over the last 24-hour period they had issued 104 fines, including 17 for failing to wear a mask and 17 at vehicle checkpoints. Yeah, so there's a bit of income taking here as well with these fines. Victoria records 9 new cases of coronavirus overnight, no deaths, as Dan Andrews threatens to extend restrictions after heatwave bad behaviour. This is what I predicted. The man loves the control. He will use any excuse to put the clamps down on Victorians again. He's not going to go away. He's the virus. He's the main worry when it comes to pandemics. You have got a premier who is toxic. There will be a time when the 5 kilometre rule can come off, but exactly when that is, or might be extended, when that is, we can't be certain now. So much for your bloody roadmap. It's a total load of crap. There is no roadmap. You're just playing this by ear, and you love restricting Victorians' freedom. Admit it, Dan, you get off on it. But anyway, that's enough for today with all the news. It's a beautiful day. I hope it's as nice a weather where you are. I suspect it's a bit cooler in Melbourne and probably a bit wetter, but at least you've had a bit of a sample of some nice warm summer weather, so that's good. And keep up the good fight, the people who want a free Victoria and a free Australia. Don't buckle down. Keep questioning, keep thinking, and don't become one of the drones who just basically will do anything government tells them. Think for yourself. I know the education system hasn't exactly prepared you for that concept, but try it. It's actually quite a good thing to do. So with that, please give me thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, and subscriptions would be great as well. And I'll catch you tomorrow.